Alright, now we're back. Let's keep on with the case. So, we've been here. Let's go to Sweet Treats. Sweet Treats. Mr. Cohn is the owner of Sweet Treats. He knows a lot about the Civil War era. Oh, and there's Mr. Peel. He's the one that found Violet Verse's letter. Oh, because, he read her mail. Ha ha ha. Oh. Mr. Cohn's always been very interested in history. In fact, I think he bought this site as a location for an ice cream parlor because it was used to be a famous tower. That's right. I started Sweet Treats on the site of an old Liberty Tavern. I liked the idea of owning a store on a famous landmark and then tearing it down. In the 1800s, the Liberty Tavern was a favorite drinking and socializing spot. But alcohol was banned in Prohibition in 1912, so the tavern went out of business. I've even got an old tavern sign above the counter for luck. It's an antique. Speaking of antiques, where's this desk that you found the letter in, Mr. Peel? We'd like to examine it. I sold it to Mrs. Polaria. It's at the Brass Monkey Antiques. Hey, Mr. Cohn. Mr. Peel told me about the letter he found. I think the Historical Society should go for gold. I mean, if you want the treasure, why not take the best? Gold is worth hundreds of dollars for every ounce. In Violet Verse's days, people used gold for money. I bet a lot of coins she stole were gold coins. I bet that'd be worth a lot of money today. That's my advice. Go for the gold. We're going for the lead, which means we're going for here. The sign that hangs under the Sweet Treats counter, hangs above, says Liberty Tavern. Liberty Tavern sign appears to be very old. It's made of dark wood, riddled with termite holes and cracked with age. Wow, if they have to excavate this place, they might have to take your entire shop down, man. You have to hope that it's not going to be here. Wraith Rock is at the edge of the park, back there in the trees. Hey, Wraith Rock. Wraith Rock is about 3 feet tall and 6 feet wide. The west side of the stone resembles a ghostly face. And it says, hey, Jennifer, you want to make out? This rock has been here since the founding of Richview. My dad says that the name comes from its spooky name. Wraith means ghost. I never would have guessed. The monument to Andrew Jackson is a life-size bronze statue. The plaque reads on the foot of the statue reads, President Andrew Jackson, 1767 to 1845. Dedicated to the daughters of old America. Richview chapter 14-7. July 4th, 1967. The statue is facing north towards Wraith Rock because apparently Andrew Jackson really liked Wraith Rock and always wanted to be near it. Brass Monkey Antiques. Hey, Mrs. Polaria, stuck-up bitch. I mean, hello, Mrs. Polaria. I see. Mr. Peel's old desk is here. He must have sold it to Mrs. Polaria. He told us that. After Mr. Peel told me what he found in the desk, I did a little research on it. It is indeed quite old. The desk is owned by the Prosperio family, who imported it from Philadelphia in 1830 or so. They were quite a wealthy family. In 1855, the Prosperos sold it to the Harrisons, who were probably the only family in town wealthier than they were. When the last of the Harrison children died, the desk was bequeathed to the post office where Mr. Peel bought it. A lovely old piece, really. Quite valuable now. Mr. Peel showed me the letter where he found the letter. It was down the back behind the drawers. I think it fell there and was never opened. You may examine the desk yourself if you wish. You look over the old desk very carefully, but find no further clues. Everything Mrs. Polaria seems to be true. Mr. Peel told me about Violet Verse's letter, said, I think the treasure is silver. It's such a lovely metal. Not gaudy like gold. Sophisticated, lustrous, and very valuable. Yes. Well, silver does go very well with blue, so. And you seem to like blue. Let's go have a look at Harrison's hole. Mr. Duffy's had bad luck with these crops the last few years. If Portia's treasure is buried here, Maybe he'll be able to use some of that money to fix up his farm. Did a little research in the area before I bought the farm 10 years ago. There was a mining company here 150 years ago called the Harrison Extraction Company. They dug shafts deep in the earth looking for silver and other valuable minerals. Mining was really big industry in this part of the country in those days. They found quite a bit of silver here, enough to make the mine famous. When the silver ran out, they sealed up the holes so people wouldn't get hurt in them. Okay? The mine shaft, what's once called Harrison Hold, is sealed with a strong gate. The gate is securely locked. I almost said severely. I don't think that door has been opened in 150 years, except in every other case we've been here, for heaven knows what you would find in there. Well, we already know what it is going to be for, so let's solve the case. 3 clues! Okay. That one's a good one. That one's a good one, and this one's a good one. Those are the clues we needed. Now make your choice. If you think the treasure is at the site, pick it. If you think Mrs. Garcia is responsible for Violet's letter, pick her. Oh, I never thought about Mrs. Garcia being responsible for it, but it's Liberty Tavern.
You figured it out.
You're right. Portia's treasure is at Liberty Tavern.
Let's check the evidence.
Violet's verse had a little poem promising Portia's treasure. If the reader could guess the right site. One site was labeled gold, another silver, and the third was lead. We learned that in newspapers called the Highwaywoman Violet verse because she was very fond of the color purple and poetry. She seemed to be especially fond of Shakespeare. Well, Shakespeare is prose, not poetry, or unless it's a sonnet, but you know what I mean. So we looked up Shakespeare's plays, and sure enough, there was a wealthy woman called Portia in the play, Merchant of Venice. That was a big discovery. In the play, Portia tests the men who want to marry her by presenting them with the choice of 3 boxers: gold, silver, or lead, or briefs. The man who chose correctly finds a picture of his bride-to-be inside the box. In the play, a proud man chose gold. He's wrong. Then the calculating man chose silver. He's wrong too. The hero takes a chance. He chooses the dull, unglamorous lead, and he's right. Violet first presented her version of the same test to us. We chose lead, and we were right. Mrs. Garcia solved the rest of the mystery. Violet's verse said, "Between life and happiness." Mrs. Garcia remembered the words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness from the Constitution. In the famous phrase, liberty is between life and happiness, and when we looked behind the lead backing at the word liberty in the old sign, we found Violet versus treasure. Oh, good, so they didn't have to break it apart. A picture of herself. We could not solve the mystery of the map, but the mystery of Violet versus herself. Okay, so who was she? That's the question. Have you seen today's paper? Resulka made the front page. I always do. This is one of our biggest cases, solving a mystery over 100 years ago. Definitely. This deserves a place in history. In the eagle-eyed scrapbook. Everything goes in the scrapbook, though. Sleuths identify Violet verse. A great historical riddle has been solved by Resulka and Jennifer of the Richview. The legendary highwaywoman known as Violet verse is proved to be none other than Juliet Washburn, a woman who left Richview in 1855 for the commanding career in stage theaters across the U.S. and Europe. I recognize the picture. Resulka found it once, Mrs. Arnold said. The sleuths deciphered a baffling clue in the letter written by Juliet to her childhood friend William Prospero, testing his suitability for marriage. The picture was found behind the lead backing of an antique sign for Liberty Tavern. The find was an absolute treasure to Mrs. Garcia, who is writing a book all about Violet verse. Now all the questions about both Violet and Juliet can be answered, Mrs. Garcia said. Juliet gave constantly to Richview's poor children. Now we know where she got the money. As for her success on stage, her role as Violet verse has given her plenty of acting experience. Yeah, and we'll call the episode here, and we'll come back for the next cases. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.